The sky above Earth broke open the day the invasion began. It did not happen slowly or with warning. It happened like the universe itself had been torn apart. One moment the clouds drifted quietly. The next, a thin crack of white light cut straight across the sky, sharp and bright like a blade of fire. People on the ground pointed, confused. But before anyone could understand what was happening, the crack grew wider and wider until it became a glowing wound stretching from one end of the horizon to the other. Out of that burning tear poured thousands of dark, needle-shaped ships. They were long, smooth, and terrifying, moving with a slow, evil grace as if they already owned the world they were entering. No radio signal, no message, no warning, only silence and the cold promise of death. When the first wave attacked, everything happened too fast. Beams of violet light shot from the alien ships, striking cities without sound, as if the air itself had been swallowed. Entire buildings turned to dust in seconds. Satellites fell. Power grids collapsed. Global defenses that had taken decades to build were crushed in minutes. Humanity's first contact with alien life came not with peace or hope, but with destruction. At that exact moment, I was on duty aboard the UNSS Resolute, an old human destroyer that had seen more repairs than victories. It creaked when the engine started, and half the technology on it was outdated, but it still carried cannons, missiles, and a crew with fire in their hearts. When the alien signal appeared on our sensors, our commander didn't hesitate. His face was calm, almost too calm, as if he had been waiting his whole life for this nightmare. "We hit back," he said simply. "We hit back hard." And we did. The Resolute rose from orbit and joined what little remained of Earth's scattered defense ships. We flew straight toward the enemy, even though they looked unstoppable. Their armada moved like one living creature, every ship turning in perfect unison, every formation flawless, every attack planned with frightening precision. And in the middle of that deadly swarm, we saw their flagship. It was enormous, bigger than any human supercarrier, shaped like some monstrous insect with wings stretching out like blades. Its black surface glowed with strange green veins that pulsed like a heartbeat, and at its center was a giant crystal chamber shining brightly through layers of armor. Even without being told, everyone knew what it was. The throne. The command core. The place where their ruler waited. The alien queen. Our ship opened fire the moment we had a clear shot, and the sky exploded with light as dozens of human vessels followed. But our hope was thin, and our enemy was overwhelming. Their ships darted around ours like sharks swimming through helpless fish. Our cannons burned holes in the darkness, but their beams burned holes straight through our allies. The battlefield became a storm of fire, metal, and broken signals. Even though we were fighting with everything we had, deep inside, we all felt the same sinking truth: we were losing. And yet no one turned away. No one fled. Every human ship kept firing, kept pushing, kept screaming into the void with weapons and courage. We fought because Earth was behind us, because families were watching from shattered cities, because running would mean the end of everything we loved. It did not matter that the aliens had power we had never seen. It did not matter that we were outnumbered. It did not matter that defeat seemed certain. We were human, and humans do not bow. We burn, we rise. We resist, even when the sky itself falls apart. The fighting did not end after the first terrible attack. Instead, it grew into a long, painful struggle that spread across the moons and empty spaces around Jupiter, turning the outer system into a graveyard of broken ships and drifting bodies. Every day humans tried to push back the invaders, and every day the aliens pushed harder. The enemy had more ships, more speed, and strange weapons that twisted metal and crushed shields like paper. While humanity fought with whatever ships were left working, even ones held together by old repairs and hope, After nearly a week of nonstop battles, the situation turned desperate when the alien swarm surrounded the mining colony on Europa. More than 30,000 civilians were trapped inside the ice tunnels, unable to escape, their last messages full of fear and static. If no one helped them, they would be wiped out without mercy. Even though our ship, the UNSS Resolute, was damaged and our crew exhausted, we headed straight toward Europa along with a small group of human ships already falling apart from the last encounter. Everyone on board understood the truth. This mission would likely be our last. We went in anyway. The moment we entered Europa's orbit, the aliens attacked from every angle. Their ships moved like dark birds circling prey, firing beams that cut through space in quick, deadly lines. The Resolute shook under every hit, but we refused to fall. I worked the weapons station with hands that trembled from fatigue, firing until the cannons overheated and the warning lights glowed angry red. The enemy ships were alive-looking, covered in moving armor plates and glowing markings that pulsed like veins. They flew in tight formations, weaving through our fire with frightening accuracy. Some dove straight at us. One of them slammed into our hull and exploded, ripping open a section of the ship. Alarms screamed. Bulkheads burst. People were thrown across the room. Before anyone could recover, the boarding pods came. They tore into our walls like metal seeds exploding open, releasing alien soldiers huge four-armed, creatures with sharp mandibles and armor that shifted colors like underwater light. They didn't shout or roar or warn us. They attacked silently, with blades and energy weapons that flashed green. Our crew fought back with everything we had. The hallways became war zones filled with smoke, sparks, and bodies. The sound of gunfire mixed with the deep, horrible clicking of the aliens' movements. We pushed them back step by step, but there were too many of them and too few of us. The ship shook again, harder this time. A beam from the alien flagship struck us directly, not to destroy us but to stop us. Our engines died at once. The lights flickered. Gravity vanished, sending us drifting weightlessly as equipment floated beside us. The Resolute, wounded and helpless, began to drift slowly toward the alien flagship like metal caught in a giant magnet. Through the window I saw it, an enormous fortress of black and green metal, its wings stretching out like a monstrous insect guarding a hive. And at its center, glowing like a beating heart, was the crystal chamber we had seen before, the place where their queen ruled. As we drifted closer, fear hit me harder than any weapon. The aliens weren't taking us to kill us. They had disabled us carefully, boarded us methodically, and now they were pulling us toward their queen's throne with deliberate purpose. The truth settled in my stomach like ice. We were not being destroyed. We were being taken. And whatever waited for us inside that alien fortress, it was something far worse than death. When I opened my eyes after the violent capture, I found myself standing inside a hall unlike anything I had ever imagined. A place so strange and beautiful that even fear could not stop me from staring. The chamber was made of tall crystal walls that glowed with shifting colors, soft blues, deep greens, and bright silver lights that flowed like liquid through veins carved into the stone. The air hummed gently, as though the entire room was alive and breathing. Floating platforms moved slowly above us, drifting like leaves caught in a calm wind, carrying elegant alien figures dressed in armor that shimmered like insect wings. These were not the brutal soldiers that had attacked our ship. These were nobles or priests, their bodies slim and tall, their eyes glowing pale yellow as they watched us with quiet curiosity. 4 armed guards surrounded us, pushing us forward with staffs that sparked with green energy, each spark making my skin itch. Heavy metal bands were locked tight around my wrists, pulsing with heat every time my heartbeat changed, reminding me that escape was impossible. My crew stood beside me, wounded, exhausted, and angry. But even they fell silent as a sudden shift passed through the air, like a wave of pressure moving across the room. Everyone instinctively bowed or stepped back. And from above, descending on a platform of bright crystal, came the ruler of the swarm, the alien queen. She was enormous, twice as tall as any human. Her armor a mix of polished metal and living shell that seemed to grow from her skin. 6 long tendrils floated behind her like a ghostly cloak, swaying gently as if moved by a wind only she could feel. Her face was fierce yet strangely calm, her eyes deep golden pools filled with age and intelligence far older than our species. When she spoke, she did not open her mouth. Instead, her voice appeared directly inside my mind, smooth and powerful, echoing like a whisper spoken by a storm. She spoke of humanity's resistance with something almost like respect, telling us that we fought with fire and died with fire, yet somehow survived each encounter. Our commander, though injured and barely standing, stepped forward and demanded to know why they had attacked us without warning. The queen tilted her head as if puzzled by the question, then responded with words that froze the room. They had not come to conquer Earth. They had come to stop something hidden beneath it. Her tendrils glowed as she cast an enormous hologram into the air, a vision of Earth's core opening like a wound, revealing a massive pulsing shape curled deep inside. It looked like a mountain made of flesh and shadow, slowly shifting as if dreaming. The queen called it the Devourer, a creature older than their empire, a monster that consumed suns and swallowed entire star systems. Her people had chased it across galaxies, trapping it inside Earth long before humans existed, sealing it under layers of crust and ocean. And now, she said, it was waking. A chill ran down my spine as I watched the hologram shift into images of destroyed worlds, giant planets left hollow, their surfaces cracked open like empty shells. The queen's voice grew heavier in my mind as she explained that Earth was not just a home to humans. It was a cage built to hold the Devourer. The truth hit harder than any battle had. The aliens were not trying to kill us. They were trying to destroy the planet before the creature below could rise and devour the galaxy. My heart pounded with confusion and anger. I had thought we were fighting a war for survival, but now I understood the terrible reality. We were fighting in the middle of a much greater war, one that had begun long before humanity existed. And the enemy the queen feared was not us. It was the monster sleeping beneath our own feet. The truth the queen revealed did not sit quietly in our minds. It shook every piece of our understanding, leaving us confused, angry, and afraid. At first, no human wanted to believe her. Why would we trust the same enemy that had burned our cities, destroyed our fleets, and dragged us into their ship like prisoners? The idea that Earth was built over a sleeping monster sounded insane. But denial faded quickly when the queen showed more records, ancient memories of her people. Memories of giant worlds collapsing into swirling darkness, swallowed by a creature so vast that even the strongest fleets of her empire had been powerless. We watched planets we had never seen vanish under waves of living shadow, heard the screams of entire civilizations as the Devourer consumed star after star. Once the recordings ended, silence filled the hall. Even the guards lowered their heads. Slowly, painfully, we realized the horrible truth: the queen was not lying. The Devourer was real. The tremors already shaking Earth were signs of its awakening. If it rose, it would not stop with our planet, it would eat the sun, then reach for the next system and the next, until the galaxy was nothing but dust inside its endless hunger. The queen believed the only answer was to burn Earth completely, to kill the creature before it could open its many eyes. Millions, maybe billions would die, but the galaxy would be saved. That was her logic. That was her plan. But to me, to every human standing there, that plan was unacceptable. We would not scorch our home. We would not let another species decide that our planet was nothing more than a cage that needed to be destroyed. We would find another way, even if we had to fight death itself. The moment that thought settled in my chest, something inside me hardened into a decision that no threat or warning could break. I had been raised on Earth, trained to protect it, and I refused to watch it be sacrificed like an abandoned outpost. When a guard pushed me forward, I slammed my wrist restraints against a crystal pillar as hard as I could. Pain exploded up my arm, but I struck again and again until the metal band cracked open with a sharp spark. Heat burned my skin, but I didn't stop. I grabbed the nearest guard's weapon, a humming spear with glowing blades, and swung it with every ounce of strength left in me. My crew saw what I was doing and moved instantly. They broke free however they could, fighting past their fear, turning desperation into courage. The chamber erupted into chaos. Alien nobles scattered across floating platforms. Guards lunged at us with quick, sharp movements, but we fought with noisy fury, shouting, pushing, hitting, refusing to fall. We stormed through bright, twisting halls, alarms blaring and lights flashing red as we forced our way deeper into the fortress. The air smelled of burning metal and something sweet and sharp from the alien energy weapons. Our goal burned clear in our minds: reach the control core, take command of the ship, shut down the fleet, and stop the destruction of our world. When we reached the massive sphere of glowing vines that formed the control center, hope surged in my chest until the Queen appeared again, rising from the shadows as if formed from light. Her golden eyes fixed on me, unreadable and deep. She warned us again that if the devourer woke, the sun would collapse and all life would vanish. She spoke not with anger but with ancient grief, as someone who had seen countless worlds die. I raised the stolen spear anyway, my heart pounding. "Then we stop it," I said. "We stop it together." For the first time, the Queen did not speak. She only stared, her tendrils curling slowly, as if tasting a new idea, an idea no one in her empire had ever dared to imagine. That humans, fragile and young, would choose to fight the devourer instead of running. That we would rather die than surrender our world. And something in her silent gaze told me that a new path, a dangerous and uncertain one, had just begun between our species. Once the Queen finally accepted that humans would never allow their home to be burned without a fight, everything changed in an instant, and the unthinkable happened. Humanity and the alien swarm became allies. The same creatures that had attacked U.S., the same fleets that had destroyed our cities, now turned their weapons away from Earth and toward the far greater danger rising beneath it. It felt strange at first standing beside the towering four-armed soldiers who had boarded our ship days before, sharing information with alien engineers who moved with insect-like precision, listening to the Queen's calm, echoing voice as she explained how to strike at the devourer. But strange or not, we had no choice. The creature sleeping under Earth was waking faster than anyone expected. It shook the whole planet, sending earthquakes across continents, breaking open mountains, and boiling patches of sea until steam rose like storm clouds. A deep red glow began to leak from cracks in the crust, and every scientist who saw the readings went pale with fear. There was no more time. The United Fleet, thousands of human ships and tens of thousands of alien vessels gathered above Earth in a formation so wide it blocked the stars. I stood on the command deck beside the Queen, feeling her strange energy ripple through the air like a warm wind. She explained the final plan, her voice steady, not cruel as before but heavy with responsibility. When the devourer emerged fully, we would strike at its core with a weapon made from both our technologies, the solar lance. It was powerful, unstable, and dangerous enough to destroy entire fleets if mishandled, but it was our only chance. Then the ground beneath Earth split apart in a roar that shook even the ships in orbit. The devourer rose. It did not look like any living creature I could imagine. It was huge, larger than a mountain, a shifting mass of flesh and glowing red veins, covered in unblinking eyes that opened and closed endlessly, while new mouths formed and melted back into its skin. Gravity itself bent around it, making nearby ships tremble as if pulled by an invisible hand. The creature screamed, not with sound but with a deep pressure that echoed straight into our bones. Ecosystems failed instantly. The oceans rose. Clouds burst into lightning. But even with that terror rising before us, we attacked. Human destroyers charged forward, firing rail cannons until the guns cracked. Alien cruisers shot streams of green fire that carved long wounds across the monster's hide. Drones exploded against it like sparks. Every hit landed, but none of it was enough. The devourer shifted, turning toward the sun. It opened a massive maw that glowed with red energy, ready to feed on the star that kept our system alive. If it reached the sun, everything would collapse. The Queen shouted for the solar lance to fire. Humans and aliens aligned their power grids and systems, merging signals that were never meant to connect. The air hummed with danger. Then a single beam of bright white and gold shot downward, striking the devourer square in one of its giant central eyes. The creature roared in pure agony. Its movements grew wild, confused. And in that moment, the Queen stepped forward with calm certainty. Before I could stop her, her body began to glow brighter and brighter, a warm golden light that filled the command deck. She looked at me with steady eyes, filled with a strange respect. She thanked me, not for fighting, but for showing her that hope was still possible. Then she launched herself out of the flagship, a streak of gold racing toward the wounded monster. Her power struck the devourer with the force of a star being born, a blinding flash that lit the whole sky. When the light faded, the creature was gone. The Queen was gone. The sky was quiet. Earth was safe. And in that silence, everyone understood the cost of the victory we had just won. In the days that followed the Queen's sacrifice, the world felt strangely quiet, as if the whole planet was trying to breathe again after being held underwater for too long. The skies were still filled with smoke from broken cities, and the oceans were marked with scars from the devourer's rising. But there was a new feeling in the air, a heavy but peaceful stillness that came only after surviving something that should have killed us. Earth's governments worked together for the first time in decades, joining with the alien swarm that had once been our enemy, and slowly the two sides began repairing the damage left behind. Human engineers walked beside alien builders whose tools shaped metal with light. Medical teams treated wounded soldiers from both species in the same halls. For many people, it was confusing, even frightening, to see the creatures who had attacked them now laying down supplies, rebuilding shelter, and standing guard over ruined cities. But the truth was impossible to ignore. The Queen had given her life for Earth, and her people meant to honor that sacrifice. A week after the final battle, while I was in the communications room of the rebuilt UNSA Resolute, a soft, unfamiliar signal appeared on the screen. It pulsed with a gentle golden glow, one I recognized immediately. Everyone nearby held their breath as we opened the message. A hologram shimmered into the air, and there she was, the Queen, but not alive. It was a recording, a final message she had prepared before launching herself toward the monster. Her voice filled the room, but this time it wasn't cold or commanding. It was warm, quiet, and almost human. She said that her people would not leave Earth now that the truth was known. They owed our world a new beginning, not destruction. She explained that she had seen something in humans that her own kind had forgotten long ago: the courage to protect, even in darkness. The strength to fight for others, not just for ourselves. The stubborn hope that refused to die, even when the sky burned. As she spoke, her golden eyes softened, almost like a teacher speaking to a child she had grown proud of. She asked us to remember one thing above all. Great power did not come from strength or weapons, but from the heart that chose to protect others, even strangers, even former enemies. When the hologram faded, the room stayed silent for a long time. Some people cried. Others bowed their heads. I just stood there with my hands shaking, because even though she had led the fleet that attacked us, even though she was our enemy for a short, brutal time, she had ended as something far greater, our ally, our defender, and the one who saved our world when no one else could. The alien swarm built memorials for her across Earth, each one shaped from glowing crystal, each one showing her final moment of light. Humans placed flowers at the base of those monuments. Children touched the crystal and whispered thanks. Soldiers saluted. As our planet healed, as life returned, as ships began to move through space again, a new alliance formed between humans and the Queen's people. The swarm remained not as conquerors, but as partners, promising to help guard the galaxy from whatever threats still wandered the dark. And on quiet nights, when I stood on the deck of the Resolute and looked up at the stars, I always remembered her final words. I whispered them like a promise carried through space, that humanity would protect the galaxy now not out of fear, but out of the courage the Queen believed we had. And though she was gone, I felt that somewhere in the endless dark, she still watched over us like a golden light that would never fade.